Hey, it's Jared Posey with No Quit Ministries here. I know it's been a while, guys. I'm sorry about that. But I promise I'm going to try to start doing better. But today, I wanted to talk to y'all about not getting discouraged when you're not seeing growth when you're ministering to people. You see, we've been going through as a church how to reach your one. You know, we're even doing Bible study and everything on it. You know, in a lot of times, like I see myself becoming discouraged when I don't see growth. I don't see, a change in their lives the way I think there should be. And I'm just like, automatically, I start blaming myself. I'm like, man, is it something I'm saying? Is it something I'm doing? Like, what am I not doing right? And I forget that I'm not the one who's changing their life. I'm not the one who can save them. That's Jesus. God is the only one who can change their life. If I could change their life, that means I would have been able to save myself. But I can't. And you can't. You can't save yourself. And since we can't save ourselves, we cannot save someone else. Only Jesus can do that. Only God can save someone. Only God can change someone's life forever. And yes, we can do things that hinder other people from coming to Christ. But if you're living the way you need to be living, and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you're ministering to someone, and they're not accepting it, that's not your fault. And I always want to make it my fault, like it's something that I'm doing wrong. And it discourages me, and it makes me not want to do it. And Satan's constantly throwing that in my face, like, hey, it's like this person hasn't grown, and you've been ministering and talking to this person and praying for this person for years even. And it wears you down. It makes you feel like, what's the use? And it makes me not want to do it at all. Like, because I'm just like, what's the point? I'm just going to screw it up again. But if you're doing what God has called you to do, that's not on you. That's a decision between them and God. That's not something that you can decide for them. And that's not, it's not up to you. It's between them and God, just like I said. Now, a passage of scripture that I wanted to share with y'all is from Luke. Let me pull it up right quick. Should have had this pulled up already, but I don't. But it's Luke 8, 11 through 15, and this is in New King James Version, so if if it's a little bit hard to understand or hard for me to say some of the words, I apologize. And this is the parable known as the parable of the sower. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside are the ones who hear. Then the devil comes and takes away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. But the ones on the rock are those who, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no root, who believe for a while, and in time of temptation fall away. Now the ones that fell among the thorns are those who, when they have heard, go out and are choked with all the cares, riches, and pleasures of life, and bring no fruit to maturity. But the ones that fell on the good ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience. Now, I like to think that there is another type of soil, or in this case, I'm specifically going to be talking about the seed. Now, obviously, the seed is the gospel. And when you go out and minister, you're sowing that seed into their heart. Now, some take it and receive it and grow and, take it full-heartedly, and nothing, they don't get choked out, they don't get discouraged, they don't quit on it, and they keep it going. But just like the parable says, there's some that, dry up in the sun because their roots, they just don't go deep enough. And The others, it's just like the cares of this world, it just chokes them out, and it sucks the life away from them. Or there's some where the devil just takes it away from them. He just doesn't allow their hearts to open up to it, and that seed is just taken away. But sometimes that seed doesn't have to sprout right away. You see, the way we commonly think about seeds, or at least the way I do, is you take the seed, you put it in the ground, and when the right conditions are available, it sprouts. You know, plain and simple. But that's the thing. Sometimes the right conditions aren't always present. Sorry about that construction site. I can't get away from the noise at this place. There's way too many people everywhere. But anyway, you see, the right conditions aren't always present. And it's just like the grass. It dies off in the winter, and it doesn't always grow. It's not always sprouting forth, and it doesn't just keep growing. In the winter, it's too cold, the days are too short, and it just can't survive. You see, and it's just like that. So when you sow that seed into somebody's heart, they don't always immediately burst straight into life. I mean, they can, but that doesn't always happen. In fact, it doesn't happen a lot. And, you know, a lot of people say you just got to you're bringing water, you're exposing it to sunlight. And you know, sometime, and eventually it'll sprout, which can happen, yeah. I mean, that does happen. But sometimes that seed has to go through a process known as scarification. And basically, it's the opposite of all the quote-unquote good things that we think we have to bring to a seed in order for it to sprout, which is warmer temperatures, or, you know, sunlight, the correct amount of sunlight, the correct amount of water, good soil, keeping the weeds out. You know, all those things go into helping the seed germinate, but it doesn't always mean it happens immediately. Just because the conditions are right for it to sprout doesn't mean it always happens right then and there. You see, if you have a seed in your hand, like say a peach pit, or you know, just any type of seed with some sort of coating. Not all seeds are soft and, you know, able to break through very easily. You know, some are really tough, some are really, really hard to protect the seed. But sometimes, because of that outer shell, because of that outer coating, the plant inside can't just break through it. It needs a little bit of help. And so the process of scarification is basically, my short definition of it is putting stress on the outer coat of the seed. So to better understand this, let me explain soil a little bit. So it's made up of three main particulates: sand, silt, and clay. And the main one we need to focus on here is going to be sand. But the other two do play a part. So scarification is basically where sand and grit and rocks and things like that are rubbing against the outside of that seed coat. And as that happens, it's literally tearing into the outer coat of the seed, which leaves scars. And so that's basically scarification. It's putting that seed coat in a lot of stress, and literally tearing into it. And when this happens, it's able to break through a little bit easier, because the seed coat, instead of being like, say, that thick, it's now in some parts that thick, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but that little tiny soft plant that hasn't even like broke through yet, it can be the difference between being able to break through and not. And you see, the soil's always moving. It's always changing. You know, it can become waterlogged when there's a rain event that happens for like days and days, or even, you know, over a week long, just rain constantly, and it becomes swelled, and that causes it to expand. Or it could happen the other way, where it just doesn't, it hasn't rained in like a month, and it's just so hot and so dry, and it compacts. Or it can be the temperature. When it's warm, soil likes to expand a little bit more. Obviously, if it's dry, it can only expand so much, but it does help it expand some. But when it's cold, it likes to compact, it likes to condense, it likes to get harder. And so, as the soil's moving and as conditions are changing, it's putting stress on that seed. It's tearing into that seed coat, and it makes it to where when the right conditions are present again, it's able to burst forth and spring to life. Sometimes that seed has to go through stress in order to germinate. And that's exactly what can happen in our lives. Sometimes that seed in their heart has to go through stress. They have to go through something stressful. You know, I don't know what that could be. That could be problems at their job, with their relationships, you know, whether that's like a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, or with their kids, or with a family member, or just with their friends. Or it could be problems at their job, or it could be financial issues, it could be medical issues, it could be a death of someone they really cared about, or it could just be, you know, like just stressing people out. You know, it can be all these different things, and it puts stress and it breaks into that outer seed coat and makes it just a little bit easier for it to germinate when those right conditions come back together. And so that's how I kind of think about it. Just because I don't see why that person's not germinating, I'm like, man, like they've got plenty of water, like the temperature's just right, the sun, it's getting the right amount of sunlight, like it's nice and warm out, like they should be able to germinate, they should be growing, they should be, you know, growing in their faith, they should start their walk with Christ. But sometimes they just haven't gone through that stress period for the seed to actually be able to germinate, for that plant to actually be able to break through. Now, I hope that helps somebody. I really hope that helps y'all see how it's not always as simple as what we think it is. And to remember that it's not our fault that somebody doesn't accept Christ. We can do everything right. All the conditions can be there. But sometimes it just can't germinate. And so I really hope that helps to encourage y'all, that helps y'all to stay motivated to be like, okay, I'm gonna keep praying for this person. I'm gonna keep reaching this person, even though it's been so long, you know, with all the conditions right. You know, sometimes they just have to go through that period where God shakes up their life and they're able to finally break free. And when that happens, they will grow exponentially. So, like I said, I really hope this video helped somebody. I hope y'all liked it. I guess I'll see you guys next time.